Welcome to Underworld Classroom. A YouTube friend of mine provided me with a couple links that we're going to review here, and I want to thank my friend very much. And the links will be provided in the description. First is Supplementary Detailed Staff Reports on Intelligence Activities and the Rights of Americans, Book 3, Final Report of the Selective Committee to Study Governmental Operations with Respect to Intelligence Activities, United States Senate. CoIntelPro, the FBI's Covert Action Program against American citizens. CoIntelPro is the FBI acronym for a series of covert action programs directed against domestic groups. In these programs, the Bureau went beyond the collection of intelligence to secret action defined to disrupt and neutralize target groups and individuals. The techniques were adopted wholesale from wartime counterintelligence and range from the trivial to the dangerous. Covert intelligence, counterintelligence program, a misnomer for domestic covert action. CoIntelPro is an acronym for counterintelligence program. Counterintelligence is defined by those actions by an intelligence agency intended to protect its own security and to undermine hostile intelligence operations. Under CoIntelPro, certain techniques the Bureau had used against hostile foreign agents were adopted for use against perceived domestic threats to the established political and social order. The former programs which incorporated these techniques were therefore also called counterintelligence. Covert action is, however, a more accurate term for the Bureau's program against American citizens. Covert action is the label applied to clandestine activities intended to influence political choices and social values. The original targets from 1956 to 71 were the Communist Party, the Socialist Workers' Party, the hate group, the Black Nationalist hate group, and the New Leaf program. The Bureau's titles for its program should not be taken uncritically. They imply a precision of definition and of targeting which did not exist. Even the names of the latter programs had no clear definition, and this is described further in this document. Let's go to the second point, because this is a very lengthy document. The 5 domestic programs. The origins of CoIntelPro are rooted in the Bureau's jurisdiction to investigate hostile foreign intelligence activities on American soil. Counterintelligence, of course, goes beyond investigation. It is affirmative action taken to neutralize hostile agents. The Bureau believed its wartime counterattacks on foreign agents to be effective. What works against one enemy will work against another. The law enforcement frustration also played a part in the origins of each CoIntelPro. In each case, Bureau witnesses testified that the lack of adequate statutes, uncooperative or ineffective local police, or restrictive court rulings had made it impossible to use traditional law enforcement methods against targeted groups. And in here, the programs are discussed at length, and we will go down to the next point. The goals of CoIntelPro: preventing or disrupting the exercise of the First Amendment rights. The origins of CoIntelPro demonstrate that the Bureau adopted extra-legal methods to counter perceived threats to national security and public order because the ordinary legal processes were believed to be insufficient to do the job. In essence, the Bureau took the law into its own hands, conducting a sophisticated vigilante operation against domestic enemies. The risks inherent in setting aside the laws, even though the proposed seems compelling at the time, were described by Tom Charles Houston in his testimony before the committee. Mr. Houston said the risk was that you would get people who would be susceptible to political considerations as opposed to national security considerations, or would construe political considerations to be national security considerations. To move from the kid with the bomb to the kid with the picket sign, from the kid with the picket sign to the kid with the bumper sticker of the opposing candidate. And you just keep going down the line. The breadth of targeting springs partly from a lack of definition for the categories involved, and partly from the Bureau's belief that dissonant speech and association should be prevented because they were incipient steps toward the possible ultimate commission of an act which might be criminal. Thus the Bureau's self-imposed role as protector of the existing political and social order blurred the line between targeting criminal activity and constitutionally protected acts and advocacy. The clearest examples of actions directly aimed at the exercise of constitutional rights are those targeting teachers, speakers, writers, or publications, and meetings or peaceful demonstrations. Approximately 18% of all CoIntelPro proposals fell into these categories. The cases include attempts to get university and high school teachers fired, to prevent targets from speaking on campus, to stop charters of target groups from being formed, to prevent the distribution of books, newspapers, or periodicals, to disrupt news conferences, to disrupt peaceful demonstrations, and more. And it talks about it goes into detail with all of those points. CoIntelPro techniques. The techniques used in CoIntelPro were and are used against hostile foreign intelligence agents, and it's a rough, tough, dirty business. Foreign counterintelligence that was brought home against domestic enemies was corroborated by George Moore, and that goes on to explain more about that. The techniques are basically misinformation, propaganda, and what they do is they give examples here, 3 basic techniques: mailing reprints of newspaper and magazine articles to members who supported the group, and to misinform people basically, and slander. And it goes into many examples. This is quite comprehensive, and you can read these examples. They're very interesting. It goes on and on and on. Command and control. It gives the chain of command for this entire operation. It's very covert, extremely covert, and basically says here the American people need be assured that never again will an agency of the government be permitted to conduct a secret war against those citizens it considers to threat the established order. Only a combination of legislative prohibition and departmental control can guarantee that CoIntelPro will never happen again. This is an auspicious beginning. Okay, next link has to do with U.S. Army Civil Affairs and Psychological Operations, whose mission statement is basically to go for and go with, to attack the mind of people. I'm looking for that exact quote because I'm running out of time here. But the psychological operations basically work with the U.S. government agencies, and any agency is used throughout this. And this branch of the military is a small branch that may be working with CoIntelPro to use propaganda and misinformation and to incite emotional responses. Now I got to ask that when you are watching the entire movement of Occupy Everything, did it start with Libya and Egypt and U.S.A., Double or Nothing at the New World Order gaming table? Are these organizations working with the New World Order? Are we being misinformed? Is our mind being attacked here? And are these agencies working together? What do you feel? What is your emotional response when you see the police officers and you see the people protesting the New World Order? And this is all designed to elicit an emotional response. Are we being manipulated into this entire movement? I don't know. Question everything. Use your own intelligence and question what you are receiving, even this. Thank you so much for watching. Be well informed at Underworld Classroom.